Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll start off. Just wanted to introduce ADC a little bit before we officially begin. Um, Basically, we stand for Anti-Disciplinary Club. If you don't like follow us on Instagram already, we're essentially doing like an alternative art class, kind of trying to create like an alternative space for exploring like the process of art making, like questioning what that actually even means and how to create like a structure around what is kind of seen as absurd or like chaotic. And again, just to start it off, I guess it makes sense to just talk about what this weird word is because it's kind of like a strange word. And it's basically the name of a project between these two artists. Y'all might have heard of one of them for sure, called Brian Eno and Peter Schmidt. So they were both musicians and writers, and they had kind of designed, collaborated two different ideas, and then came to design this deck of cards, which was called Oblique Strategies. And the whole point of it was to break out of writer's block, essentially, in a simple way. So it was tailored towards musicians and writers, but a lot of artists, especially fine artists, also like really liked the idea, would use it. And all the cards were filled with these prompts to kind of push you out of, uh, you know, like very tunnel vision thinking. Like as artists, we tend to like kind of get into a repetitive way of making stuff. And the whole deck of cards was still like you could randomly pick one and it would push you to think in a very out of the box way. Like one example here that's there, like this use an unacceptable color, right? So it'll just make you kind of just think twice about what do you see as an unacceptable color, like what do you not use, like maybe use that, like break out of that box, right? So we really liked this idea, and we named the session after this project, because the direction that we're taking with the workshop today is kind of building on a lot of different ideas we have. Like especially for me, like I studied art like in my higher education, and like you're kind of formally taught like first and foremost how to create art that is reproducible, like like you follow like elements and principles of design and like aesthetics. And not to say that this stuff isn't true, in fact it's very like mathematically or scientifically or like objectively kind of true, but it's kind of limiting, like in our perspective, like as a way to learn about art keeping, right? Sorry, art making, right? Because it's kind of gatekeepy, like this way of thinking. And I think that's kind of like the philosophy we're coming from, and why we were like really interested in oblique strategies. Yeah,
Correct.
Ananya.
Yeah, I think like even as someone who didn't have an art education, and but who was always interested in art making, like something like this as an outsider to this world, like it feels even more so like extremely gate kept. And I mean, I just think of like when I was a child and I was getting out of like the whole Disney circuit of entertainment and music and art. And when I discovered artists like, for instance, Kendrick Lamar, who like has such a beautiful way of like talking about describing his pain from belonging to a marginalized community, his takedown on systems of oppression. So there was like that thing, right? But it's just like, wow, like what you have to talk about is so profound and meaningful. Like, does that mean that I have to like have something just as profound and meaningful in order to have like a worthy a voice, a worth, bringing into my art, or even something like kind of a little bit more on the other end of things. Like for instance, let's just say like a Taylor Swift. Like when I was like 14, I was like, do I have to go through this insane life-changing romance in order for me to like be in order for me to have a voice that's worth listening to? And so I think like what we're trying to do here is almost like say that like, or even skill, right? Like, do I have to be like the next Aretha Franklin or Nina Simone or Minnie Riperton in terms of vocal capability? Like, does my skill need to be like that developed in order for me to be worthy of making art? And I think like what we're trying to do here with Oblique Strategies, and I mean ADC in general, is kind of resist that and think of almost the things around us as reasons, like finding reason in just about anything to make art. So with that, let's get into the elements of art. So just for this, and then hopefully beyond this presentation, I need you guys to like forget about whatever you know about making art. Like, so, rule of thirds, primary, secondary colors, all of that. Just forget about that. And let's entertain the idea that these are the elements of art that we're working with. We have our internal, we have external stuff, and we have chance. So what does that mean? Let's dive into each of them. So internal. Um, Internal is your brain, it's your heart, it's that gut feeling. So it's what you've seen, what you felt, what you believe. Nobody else has that mix of these different facets that you do. It's something that only it's stuff only you have access to. So it could be an idea, so something that pops up from your subconscious, like maybe like a weird dream that you had last week, or it could be a memory, like your grandma's recipes and like how they tasted, how it felt like having them with her. It could be knowledge. So it could be like that one movie that you watched that absolutely wrecked you, or like a book that you read, or your perspective, like your political leaning. This combination of things within you is only something that you have access to. So there's already such a huge pool of things to look at. Then we move on to our external. So your external is determined by like mostly where you are right now. What is in front of you? Do you have a pencil or a fork? What does that look like? I mean, in terms of access, do you have, in terms of time, do you have 10 minutes or 10 days or 10 months? In terms of skills, what skills do you already have? And even geography, which is like what's nearby that you maybe usually ignore, right? So one thing that we know for sure right now is that like when it comes to external factors, we know that all of you guys have a laptop, you guys are in a room which probably has like one light bulb or a tube light or something. So all of these things make up your external. And then finally, which is like really where all the cool alchemy part comes in, is chance, right? Chance is like the weird friend that you didn't invite, but you're glad that they showed up, or maybe you weren't so glad at the get-go, but you're glad now. Because chance could be like, maybe like a mistake. You spilled some coffee, but then you start to see like a shape in the stain. Or you flip a coin and decide and use that to decide, okay, like this is the color that I'm going to use next. Or, deciding that if the wind blows left, you will cut the page that you're working on. But if the wind blows right, then you stick another piece of paper on the page that you're working on. Or it could be risk. Like I know that when I've worked on Illustrator, it's like randomly crashed on me and I'm left with like half the file and half the elements that I have. And so, using that risk in itself to like make a decision, to be like, okay, I'm gonna make whatever that I make on top of this now will be like a recreation of what I made, but maybe it's better, maybe it's even more detailed, or maybe it's something else altogether, right? It adds that surprise, and that's really where the magic hides. Now, you already are, if you make art, you already are using chance. You're already using this. But I think the difference between, like, so for instance, like when you're choosing a certain color of green, why did you choose that color of green? When you like when you go for a certain composition, why did you choose that? You're already using all of that. But I think like what we're trying to encourage also is like harnessing that capability and really seeing like what kind of magic is hidden within that.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like when we're thinking like if we're reaching this peak point of like, okay, all of this magical like alchemical like part of art making, I think this is a good point to now try to ground it and then think, okay, like how does this now translate to like the real world? Like how does it translate to what I make, like how I make, like what I put out and create and produce and put into the world, right? So now when we're trying to translate this, again, we thought of thinking about this in these three elements like art mediums and tools and output, right? So when we start thinking about art medium, so we're trying to turn our ideas now into like some object, something that's in the world. So we know art medium like generally. what it means in art is essentially what tool and technique you're using in your art. Like, what are you using and how are you using it, right? Like, that's usually what an art medium entails. For those of you that have maybe heard it and didn't know what it was before, because there's a lot of these traditional definitions of it. Like, on the right, you can see there's way more than these also, right? But I think what we want to clarify it is kind of like it is kind of defined by you, and that is increasingly the trend in art, right? Especially since the 1950s, where what my tool and my technique, in one case, it could be like, what's written out drawing, like maybe I'm using a pencil and I'm doing shading, which is an example we would all be familiar with. But maybe I am redefining a tool and technique now, as my tool is my finger and my technique is dragging it in the mud, and the contours and the lines that I create in the mud are now my piece of art, right? So I'm defining this now as drawing, right? There's a whole generation of artists called land artists, for example, that did this already, right? Like, they would walk across a valley, and the mark that's left behind in the grass, the artist would call it a drawing. So it is ultimately how you want to define a tool and technique, but it's the structure that's good and to utilize in your art making. Like, what am I using and how am I using it? And it kind of challenges you to play with those frameworks then, because ultimately you just want to create containers. That's how we like to think about art making. There's this whole like expansive world of stuff you're thinking about, and now you want to try to contain it. You want to take a snapshot of it, because ultimately that is what the art piece is going to be. It's going to be a snapshot of all of your ideas, right? And I think even the best artworks in the world, for however you would define that, that the artist would feel it did not capture that immensity that was there, and that you feel during the process of making it, that like you are just like lost in, right? So we like to call this then the ephemeral output, right? Like, the thing you actually then make and put out into the world. It could be a mural, it could be a sound piece, a zine, an art book, installation, performance, whatever you want to put it out as, right? It's the ephemeral output. It's just that fleeting snapshot of actually this whole world you're brewing in constantly as an artist, like before that. So I think that process is really like useful to tap into, in the creative process, when you're trying to translate all of that thinking into a actual practice that you develop, and a ritual, and a rhythm that you develop with yourself in your own creative practice. And that brings us to kind of like the eternal collaborator, in this
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
Which is randomness. I mean, this is like exactly what oblique strategies is like. It harnesses so well. It's like exactly where the oblique strategies really kicks in. I mean, we do tend to love control, especially when it comes to our creativity. I mean, I know that I can be extremely type A when it comes to how my output looks like of anything that I make. But even like while developing this workshop, I think this was when like my eyes really started to open up into like just how powerful of a tool randomness can be when it comes to making something new. Like randomness really isn't the enemy of art. It can be like an ultimate collaborator. Like, so for example, we have someone like Jackson Pollock, who I think like a lot of people in this class right now might have heard of his drip technique. So how he used gravity, which is probably like the ultimate randomizer to be able to make a piece of work. So it's like letting go of the wheel a little bit and like following the weird thing, the weird instinct, and like letting the mistakes stay and have some amount of space in your piece. So it's not even like it has to be chaos for chaos's sake. It's just sort of letting chance mess with your routine a little bit. You know what I mean? And like and just making sure that like that you are taking it into account, and it's more in a more intentional way. Like randomness is there on my side. It's not there against me. Because I mean, I think as we know, like a lot of us as artists can be kind of nihilistic. I think that's why we even end up taking on something like art, because I think we're just trying to make sense of the world. But like, I think when it comes to like combating that nihilism as well that we have, in life, like even just the process of making art as opposed to like the outcome of what we're trying to of our efforts, even the process itself can like really help reduce that feeling of nihilism, right? And make you go like, damn, like everything is random as hell, and I can use all of that as like as a metric, as a compass in guiding my next decision and the decision after that when it comes to my art making. For instance, like if I have this, if I have a clock, if I'm setting at a clock, then maybe I can like look at where the hour hand is on, whether it's on like an even number, an odd number, and then assign some meaning to that. If the hour hand is on an even number, maybe I use cooler tone colors. If my hour hand is on an odd number, I use warmer tone colors, like something like that, right? Like where we can just use randomness fully in our favor. And that's when we come into tools of chance, which there are so many of those around us. Some artists can use dice. So, for instance, let's just say you land on the number five, use that as a sign that maybe I should draw 5 lines. And then, in addition to that, you get another randomizer. You go on to like coolers.com and you randomly generate, select a color, right? And then go like, okay, this is the color that I'm going to use primarily for my piece. I'll let Roni explain that further about the this whole aspect.
Yeah, like there's definitely like a bunch of practical examples, that you can also kind of visually tell from these few that we have, like wind, hand, like time, picking, cards, flipping, coin, dice. These are kind of practical examples, but it can kind of be anything, right? Ultimately, we're aiming to play with that dance of like autonomy, because I think again, like as artists, like that in our practice we are so autonomous, right? Like we are creating, we're literally in the act of creation, like with our own fucking hands. And I feel like there's this dance that you can do then with chance and randomness that I've always at least felt like creates this feeling of like collaboration, like really like gives you the sense of community, and collaboration has primed me to also have more collaborations in a way in my life, because you kind of find this, yeah, eternal collaborator, like no matter where you look, anything that plays with, you are working with somebody autonomous, something autonomously, and creating a decision together. It's not just out of your opinion or just in the isolation of your practice. You suddenly kind of open the door to something else, for a little bit of time, whether that's a watch or a hand or another person or natural elements or whatever it is. It just needs to be something that challenges that thing of autonomy for a second, right? And lets you play with that in a way. And we'll give you guys like even more practical examples, especially if there's anybody that's kind of confused about what's being talked about right now. But we are going to do like a little activity, basically. So this was like a little short and sweet introduction into kind of our thinking behind oblique strategies. And we're going to now do a group activity together, and then we'll kind of come back and talk about it as well. But before we go into that, basically, and share more practical examples and get more into the details of what we're doing today. If you guys have any questions or thoughts, or if anybody wants to just share what they've been thinking, or just have a conversation, we have some time right now to share thoughts or anything like that. So the floor is open for anyone who is thinking out
Yeah,
loud.
feel free to. I think you have a raising your hand thing here. Maybe, I hope. I don't know. But yeah, I guess you can just react if you guys want to raise your hand, ask any questions. Now's the time. Okay, I think I mean we can move on, Ro. I mean, like in case, I mean, feel free to even like ask us any questions like during the activity itself. But I think we can move on to the instructions bit.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, 100% we'll take any queries as they're coming. Um, Meetingly, yeah.
Meaningfully, indeed,
Right. Uh,
indeed.
okay, so today's activity, we're going to make art in 10 minutes. Okay. We will give you guys a little bit more than 10 minutes just as grace period. But let's just we'll explain the steps of what we're doing. So essentially, we're going to give you like around 10 minutes to make something. And kind of based on this, like the sequence of our presentation, we thought we'd mention this formula. Like, think about if there's something you want to say, some kind of message, some meaning. Remember the material, like just anything can be a tool, anything can be a technique. Like, really don't hesitate to break out of the box. In fact, we want you to, like, and you can think really as absurd as you want. Like, I could, it's silly, but I could just hold this for 30 seconds and call it a performance piece while I'm standing in the corner, right? But I need to have meaning. Me doing it with no meaning is what makes it silly, right? But so I'm just saying, think out of the box, especially if you're somebody who loves drawing and sketching. Try doing something different, like try like really thinking of tools and techniques that are maybe a little out of that ordinary space. And there are more examples I'll give you in a second for anybody that maybe needs a few ideas of what they could explore. And we'd love to see you using an element of chance today. So even for those, I have a few resources. I'm going to take you through it right now. If you have things like time or dice or cards or coins or anything you can use around you, use it. But there are also some I've put here in our resources. So basically, what we're going to do is I'm going to move over to, let me know if you guys can see this. Okay, so y'all all got the email about Miro board, and we'll be sending a link in our chat here right now in a minute. But what that link will take you to, it'll take you to this board. It's basically an interactive board. And it might be a little tricky at first to just navigate it because it's a free flowing space. So for those that are using mouse and keyboard, command and scroll ke saath you can zoom in and out thoda sa. So this, I'll just send you the link. Take a minute, just play around, get comfortable
Okay, actually, yeah, I'll just rely on the screen sharing that you're doing, Ro.
Okay.
So mine's a poem that I'm calling The External, relying fully on the things around me as we discussed. The external is like exactly where you are, everything that you have around you. So I'm in a small room. The loudest sound is the rain. Brightest color is steel. And the bed sheets are a stain. The lampshades swing side to side. The coffee by me is room temp. My glass is super foggy. My hair super unkempt. So just something really quick just to, get into the vibes. Thank you. I didn't even know Zoom could do.
These are so cute.
This is so cute. Thank you, Tanisha. Thank you.
Uh,
Uh,
so yeah, like in the blurb that I wrote, it's basically again it was kind of a this thing of I kind of assigned the six sides of a dice to different shapes and a coin flip to my to each hand. Because I'd kind of, yeah, wanted to just overcommit to the idea of like just making it fully random. I know the internal is like where I want to place my shapes and where I want to place my objects. External is the tools that I'm working with. But that chance, I really wanted to just like overcommit to it. And I don't know, it was kind of interesting because like during the process of making this, like I got only one circle. The number four was circle, and I was just yearning for it. I was like, to the point where I added a note in my four of like, okay, if I get another four, I'll stick a newspaper in here. But not a single four came up after that. And again, it was just like an interesting dialogue between I don't know, the internal versus chance. And yeah, it was just fun to make. That's kind of, yeah, that's it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh, so I used the prompt from the Oblique Strategies deck, which is make what's perfect more human. And so I like it was like a jewelry, this really fancy jewelry ad from the paper, like started bit of it. And then I just like I guess the chance I was working with was the gravity and like the dripping of the wax. I was like feeling I was in a sensory mood. So I was like, I kind of want to do something with my hands. Which is where kind of like, and I was petting my cat and he was shedding a lot. So I was like, okay, I can use this. And
That's crazy.
and I kind of just I made a couple like circles that I like were more intentionally kind of like made. And then I like dripped more wax on it, but then the rest of the hair I was kind of sprinkling and it came out really chaotic, but it was fun. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
let's go.
This
yeah.
so I when I was thinking about this workshop also, I knew that there was an activity at the end of it. I I think I was just like mentally prepared to be doing some sort of drawing, fine art, like drawing situation because I that's the medium that I'm most familiar with. But my stylus was not working today, my pen. And so I think I just had to like completely change my medium altogether. And I didn't, I was panicking a little bit in the beginning because I didn't know what to really come up with. This is kind of like a long wind. I mean, it's going to need a little bit of explanation because just from the photographs, I don't know how much of it will make sense. But um, I think naturally, like art doesn't like generally I don't think very artistically creatively otherwise unless I'm like required to, and I feel like this workshop is really making me think outside the box a little bit, which I really appreciated, and the deck really helped a lot. So I mean, I was a little concerned about the aspect of randomness because again, my type A brain is also not very like comfortable with the concept of randomness being introduced to the process. But the first thing that came from the ADC deck was use filters, and the only like the first thing that I thought of was to use filters on a photograph. Um, and just today morning, actually, I was thinking of going to Camera Gully in Fort and getting a few cameras, digicams. Digicams are back, and I've been wanting to like experiment a little bit with digital photography on those older cameras. But I just happened to ask my dad if he owned one because I knew my parents had a lot of photographs from the 90s, from like the 80s, 90s, the early 2000s. But I haven't seen those photographs ever since, obviously, like mobiles have been introduced and smartphone cameras. Uh, and so I wasn't really expecting, my dad to have a camera at all. We moved like a few months ago and we took all of our junk out from 25 years ago. And within from that junk, because we moved, he was able to dig out like six different cameras. And these are cameras that I was going to go buy myself or like similar ones also, and they were going to cost a lot of money. So I don't even know if I was, comfortable spending that much on like the creation of just like photography. But yeah, it was just by chance that I happened to sort of inherit like all of my family's old or my parents' old cameras from like literally 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago. And yeah, this is like six different cameras. One's like an original Polaroid, there's a Nikon, there's a Sony Digicam, also a lot of random watches. So I just arranged all of them on my mom's old like animal print scarf that she also gave to me along with her like vintage watches also. There's like a vintage Casio in there, there's a vintage Timex. These like watches that I would have gone and bought and I literally have been thinking of going and buying them myself as like vintage pieces and spending like thousands of rupees on vintage pieces. And so like to suddenly just one day come upon like my parents' old collection was extremely, I think, jarring, eye-opening, and it introduced this conversation with them about how I actually don't know who they are. Um, because suddenly I've started humanizing them as people who had lives in their 20s, people who, you know, had a lot of fun in their like 20s. And
they want to do the same thing that I want to do now, and they actually have done all of it and spent money on like some of the equipment and just had a full life, I feel like, that I just was not aware of. And I think like this photograph for me really encapsulates that, like the conversation of like getting clarity about who you are and who you've become, because the cycle of it feels very like serendipitous that 25 years later I'm thinking about photography and wanting to go buy these things independently, but my parents have already done that years ago. And it almost feels like it's a part of my DNA that like, that there is a creative aspect to me, and that my parents were creative also at some point. Of course, I've not seen that side of them at all. It's not even in my adulthood or my childhood, but it did bring up this conversation of who were they as people before I was introduced to them. So yeah, I mean, it was just, I titled this piece Familiar Clarity, as a play on familiarity. And yeah, I think it was just like a play on words about clarity and photography and family. And it was just an overwhelming number of feelings. I feel like even the photograph doesn't capture all of it, because I've been thinking about this since like the last 2 days or so. And just wrote a little bit of like, yeah, my initial thoughts about it as well. Um, and yeah, that's it. And I attached a little picture of my family as well over there, as a child, which is also something I don't absolutely remember. My mom having like iconic fashion sense, my dad just like being a cool guy in the 90s. Like those things are just not something I'm familiar with at all, as they're in their 50s now. They're completely different people. And so yeah, it was just a cool little nostalgic throwback.
Amazing.
Love it, love it.
Love it so much.
Wait, again.
Yeah,
That was
let's just watch it back, I think once or twice more. And let's roll it back once or twice more. Amazing.
It's so good. It's so good. One more time for the audience, please.
Okay, one last
One
time.
last time. One last
then
time,
we let you
please.
guys actually
It's too
explain.
good. It's too good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sound made it so much better. Like it's so good.
Literally, it made it infinitely like we needed
Yeah.
the sound. Like I understand like fully why you guys were like, please, can you do this? Yeah, I
It
think
wasn't
that's a
clear,
good
guys. Our
appreciation.
theme was the theme itself was randomness and fun.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So we just texted each other right after this, asking
I
what
shared the
what
screenshots with Ananya, if you want
yeah.
to share the
Oh, you shared the
screenshots
screenshot. Great.
with Ananya.
You guys want to share a little bit about how y'all made it and collaborated on this?
I didn't know Mia was gonna be here, and I saw Mia and I texted Mia. I was like, "Hi, what are you gonna do?" And then she was like, "No idea." And I was like, "Same." Then I was like, "Let's do something together." Then she sent me, that's lotion and mayo, lotion and
Yeah.
ketchup.
I said I have a ketchup packet and I have some
Oh,
mayo,
right. Yeah,
like some
yeah, those.
lotion, Nivea lotion next to me.
Ketchup.
That's all I have. And Aditi contributed the bread.
Yeah.
And Aditi's done a lot of work
Oh
on
my
sandwiches
God.
before. Sandwiches are a big part of her portfolio. You guys
Yes,
know.
I love sandwiches. I have so much bread with me. I don't know if you can see me, but I have like so much bread.
Literally stacks and stacks.
Stacks of bread.
Yeah.
Loaf of bread next to
We
you.
are indeed getting that bread.
So we did use the randomizer tool also to know what order to put the fillings of the sandwich in. That's where the randomness came in. And we explored multiple options like making a comic on the bread, but like we decided to go
Yeah.
for an animation instead at the end of it. Yeah, we had lots of fun, guys.
This
It was
is
Yeah, it
very
so
was so
cathartic.
important.
fun.
Both of us usually work like drawing and pen and paper and all that. So this was great.
Yeah.
It's
It's
right
really
there. Yeah,
fun.
that's
Thank
fun.
you.
It's this is great. This is so
Beautiful.
important.
All right.
So this, yeah, I mean, I kind of I started again with a ketchup and I'd already like dripped it on my table and on my paper and everything. So like, okay, might as well make something else out of this. So, yeah, I had a pen pencil also, one of those click click kind of pencils with me. So I kind of used it like a syringe, and I was starting from a very deep place of trying to make it like, art requires you to extract pain from your life, and like it's like the blood and all of that. So I decided to take photos of like syringe and like taking it out of the ketchup packet and like putting it down, and then seeing that everyone else is doing the same thing. Everyone else is also putting out their blood and everything outside there. So we might as well just make a mess of it, because that's when I remember I had to use one of the randomness generators, and I used the Oblique Strategies deck that you guys made, and I opened it, and the first thing that came up was get dirty. So then I just decided to just smother the ketchup and mayo all over the table and my hand. And then I made a comic out of on a collage app on my phone instead of what I usually do. So that's why it's this. So that's the extra randomness.
So I've been moving houses, and I've been like roaming around with 17 keys, like a keychain with 17 keys in it. Because like for both the houses, because it's in the middle of moving, and then you have to dock everything up, whatever. And I've been just high on like paint fumes because there's nothing else. So I keep losing my keys when I leave, and I don't know where they end up, etc. So, and there's just like a feeling of displacement anyway, because like the paint fume house does not feel like me, and then the house that we were at is just there's nothing anymore. Like I don't know. There was lots of feelings of displacement. So I felt like the misplacing of keys was so symbolic of that. And I wanted to somehow represent that feeling, but like I was trying to figure out how I can do the keys aspect of it. And I was like, I need to just leave it up to chance to also like see where it ends up. So I just did the dice roller thing. And then like if it would end in an even number, I just throw the keys like vertically from the top onto the paper. And if it was like an odd number, I just like throw it from like a random corner of the room onto it. And I think the blue, like the blue one was assigned to like the random corner of the room. So like some part of the key would land up on the paper, and then I just trace the contour of it, and like the vertical top drop was the black line. So I feel like those are a little more like you can see it's a little more key outline. So yeah, I was just like the throwing that key on, like I did a little scan of like the keys next to it to just show you like a bit of how it was displacing.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So basically, I used the random generator. I wanted to show the connection between art and me. And then I used the random generator. It said, take a break. And then I thought of taking a break, drinking chai. And then chai came into my mind. I made a tea party drawing. I used a blind. So I made put blindfold on my eyes, and then I was just drawing random things that came into my mind while I took the break. So there's biscuits, then there's jar of laddu, then there's fruits, there's a teapot, there are cups, then flower pot, and then there's a table fan on the top, and then there's a window. So I basically have small OCD kind of thing. So it's really hard for me to have these gaps. When I'm drawing, I basically just erase all the lines, extra lines. So I took a risk and did this work.
So I was a little bit confused, like what should I do? I used that Oblique Strategies link, and it gave me one output like use cliches.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I was thinking, should I draw? Should I do something? But then from past 2 3 days, I whatever the
scrap Raddi I have for the newspaper. I was reading it just for an exercise, whatever happened in past 2 3 months. So from that, I got this article about how smart cities, the budget is wasted like in like smart cities, and I had some clear glass specs with me. I made that cliche connection that specs are supposed to be wear by smart people, and I just photographed it.
Uh, Great. So, hi, I'm a
Hi.
game designer, and I had a deadline for an immersive experience tomorrow, like an immersive, which is like theater plus games. So I was like, let's just use this call to get some work done. So that's what I did. Uh, so my materials as a game designer are rules. So just coming up with rules. But I had a really fun time thinking of the chance element. So I wanted to make a game about foraging and early hunter-gatherers who do foraging and make a competitive game around foraging that you can play in a theater. So my element of randomness was I stared out the window for 1 minute and I cataloged all the unique birds I saw for 1 minute. And I found four unique birds. So I had to incorporate the number four into my games somehow. So that was my element of randomness. And then, yeah, I laid out the rules of the game. Basically, we'd lay out different kinds of fruits and mushrooms in a room, and we'd split the group into two teams. And each team has to make four recipes to feed their tribe for the night. Whichever team completes four recipes first would win. So that was me bringing randomness into it. And then they have to go around the room and they'd be given a sheet that would say, hey, this mushroom, and there'd be live mushrooms and things like that. This mushroom is poisonous. This mushroom is great for your health. This mushroom will kill you. This mushroom will get you high. So they'll just get like a bunch of images and what that does. And they'd get the recipes, which would just say, hey, you need this mushroom, this mushroom, this mushroom. And then it's a race to catalog them. But because it's happening in a forest, they are predators. So anytime a red light shines on the stage, it means a predator can see you. So you have to stop wherever you are or you'll be eliminated, right? So there is another metric at play there. And yeah, then I put some mushrooms and all along the floor. I put a woman there with a baby because uh, what we are finding out now is that women were the first scientists. I was telling Rohini and Ananya about this because they would carry a baby, and one of the first tools we invented was like a satchel to put the baby in. So satchels are great. Ananya stopped making fun of my satchel, which she does every time she sees me.
I know.
And so yeah, hopefully this highlights, and women would put the baby in the satchel and they'd have both hands free to forage and catalog different kinds of mushrooms. And cataloging itself was the start of science. So anyway, that's what we did. Thank you.
So, my thing, like, basically, I've been thinking a lot about like the algo, bro, because like I used to fuck with short form content. Like, is it like one of the best parts of my day? Just sit down and watch TikTok for like an hour, hour and a half, and like that was the highlight of my day. And now it's like the worst part of my day, bro. Like I have like this instinct where like I'm waiting for a file to render. I'm like taking a shit, whatever, bro. Like the first thing I do is like watch some short form content, and I'm like, yo, like this is like bad. Like now it's like ass. Like, am I even doing this anymore? So then I was like, let me figure it out. So I decided I'd do a horizontal line of mayo if I didn't enjoy it, a vertical line of mayo if I did enjoy it. And I'm talking about like the complete piece of short form content. Like, so if it was a reel, I watched it, like let it loop a few times earlier, like over while I was like struggling to like draw with the mayo. And if it was like a carousel, then like I would like swipe through all the photos type. Anyway, and then the ketchup smear is like advertisements or like sponsored content. So that's like I don't even see that. Like, is it even worth evaluating? Get that out of here. But anyways, my materials were a disposable spork mayo ketchup, and like I like ripped apart the bag that the delivery came in. And then on the left side is YouTube Shorts, and on the right side is Instagram Reels. And yeah, like the reason that I kind of like warped it to fit the space, on some pretentious shit, is like because I feel like short form content is like that. Like it gets like the returns are diminishing, and it's like this like endless like scroll. Feel me? So like that's what I was going for.
Yeah, it's giving Michelangelo. It's giving like fucking like the fucking church, like walls.
Right.
It's giving.
It's like
It's like a fresco.
like a child. You're comparing me to Michelangelo.
Not in form, but in concept. But form actually.
Okay, okay, fair warning. This is gonna be kind of gross / creepy if you have like, I don't know, like if you feel like a weird itch or like you feel like things are crawling in your skin all the time. That happened to me over this like weekend. I have been thinking a lot about this little mite called like it's called the scabies itch mite. I got diagnosed with scabies. It's a very treatable infection this past weekend, and I've done the treatment. But basically, what happens is that this mite crawls into your skin and eats it up and poops in your skin, and it's pretty gross. And you just and you get your immune system takes like many weeks to like recognize this as a pathogen and start reacting to it. So basically, once your immune system catches a whiff of it, it just goes nuts. And it's like almost like a very bad allergic reaction, and you get like all these bumps over your skin. So my idea for this was I wanted to initially do something digital, but then I just couldn't stop staring at these mites tend to prefer your wrists and like pores of skin. And I've just been thinking a lot about like the idea of a cordon sanitaire and like, the way Baba Saheb Ambedkar wrote about it. And I it's just a lot of different intermingling thoughts came into my head, but then I couldn't stop staring at my wrist. And then I was like, okay, what if I just put some brush pen marks over the actual, sites of inflammation that my immune system has, earmarked or cordoned off the mite into. And I just press it onto paper. I just have a sketchbook lying around on my desk. And then I did that. Basically, I'm a chronically ill disabled person, and I think a lot about health and healthcare, and I fall sick quite often. So it's just it was the viscerality of it that I wanted to like sort of make an impression of on the actual paper. So those little green marks that you see that are sort of like cordoned off with like pinkish red.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the actual impression from my hand. And then I just sort of colored everything in like to me what seemed like like really sort of quote unquote childish color combinations, which are sort of like outlandish and which are essentially Play-Doh colors, because I got this cheap acrylic marker set locally, and I was just like, I'll pick the most vibrant colors there are on it. And I've just been sort of, this piece was just like a way for me to capture the viscerality of the infection or infestation, and think a lot about like you know masking, distancing, cordoning off for health reasons, and like also the need for touch and like human interaction, and also about this mite, which has just been living in my head rent free because it lives in my skin. I mean, it's dead now, but my immune system doesn't think so. So, yeah, that's just I just did a quick acrylic marker thingy. Yeah.
Incredible.
And I left all the other space blank because I just wanted this like confined to like one space.
So yeah, this photo of this photos and like it's basically this uh, like a little background. Like I work at this photo book library, and there's this academic called Duncan Woolbridge who has made this dice, and then we have them here. Like like uh, it's probably like mirrored. So I think my zoom camera is like at mirror. Basically, each one of these dice have like a camera photography parameter, and then like it's supposed to induce randomness into your images because uh, right, I mean like we tend to take photos of what we see, like what we see around on the internet, and then like they're supposed to like disconnect you, like make you touch grass or something, like so yeah, I just we had this thing in a while, like, but I have never actually used it. And then when I like you had this dice tool on the like a virtual dice tool. So I thought like I have an actual dice, so I will just use that. So basically, you just roll the dice like a number of times. You note down the settings. So like my phone camera, like in the Lightroom app, I cannot change the apertures and I cannot change the focus or whatever. So I just used like three variables, and the idea is to like dial those setting in and then uh, go to like orient yourself to the direction north, south, east, west. What is this like? Nadir is down and like zenith is up, and just snap whatever you get in your frame, like like so. Yeah, it's just like a directional thing outside, like from Shivaji Park, where my workspace is located. So, uh, yeah, I mean, like, if you have more time, you can actually sit with these settings and then, like, move around, or just wait. Just roll it once and then just dial those settings and just wait until you find something that you feel good about. I just like tried to just uh, yeah, improvise on whatever was happening around, like with this cat, that's Chonks, that's our that's actually the mascot cat for Jojo Library. Like he's been around since the beginning. And yeah, I just found him outside. I'm like, okay, I'll collaborate with him. He's just jumping up, and for some, like, that's the settings, they kind of made sense. And then you get a sense of like with the next few frames, you get a sense of, I don't know, like just following him around, or if you are another cat and whatever, your living daylights have been knocked out with that overexposed frame or whatever. Like,
That's
I would just yeah, go on. I'm done.
it's a fever dream.
Yeah.
It's feeling like a fever dream, like sequence.
There's so
Yeah,
many.
like the sequence. Yeah, I tend to think of everything in with sequences because like before I started working here, I was working as a video editor, and like to me, photo books are also like about rhythm and sequence and like montage and collage and the tension within whatever. So yeah, I mean, like I've never actually tried this, and now I have actually done this. I think this is something we can like hold a workshop around or something, and
Yeah.
probably get Duncan to like give us virtual lecture or something. So I'm also workshopping my work thing from this, like
Yeah,
So my
no,
boss was
100.
just sitting across. She just left, but I think she knew that I would feel different kinds of pressure if she was still around and I was presenting. But anyways, if you people like live in Bombay, like we are open like Thursdays to Sunday. Visits are by appointment. And we have like two virtual events coming up, so it's also nice to like.
A link to this
Yeah, I was gonna say,
in
this
your
is, you said it's Jojo Library?
Yeah, on Instagram we go by @editions Jojo
At the rate
and
what?
editions Jojo, editions. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I had a really hard time with this because I'm such a slow thinker. And when I'm under pressure, like my brain freezes. So I spent like a good like 5 minutes like frozen. Uh I like I split my bedroom up into 4 quadrants and then I used the dice rollers and like a few prompts to like narrow down like one object that I'd like doodle out on my map. That way I'd have like a abstracted like map of my bedroom. Um, so this is like a drawing that a kid gave me of like a snail girl. That's a snail girl. And then that's like from a painting. That's from a drawing. I didn't get very far, but the idea is hopefully that as an exercise, it could be like replicated to um like get a different vantage point on your living space and like the things that you censor out of um your mind when you just walk into a room and you walk into the same room every day. Or like if you meet someone new, and you're visiting their room or living space for the first time, it would be like a cool way to approach like a map of them and how they curate the space around them.
So you mean like like kind of imagine that there are like characters that also live in that space and are kind of making decisions on like how stuff is kept?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And like the restrictions of the prompts is like kind of like a metaphorical flashlight. So if you're in like a room in the dark and you can only like look at like an object and you like slowly color in a room by, having to narrow your focus on one little thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I have a really hard time doing random things. I feel like abstract stuff, but I have been doing random people sketches of them like wherever I was when I was younger, and I haven't done it for like 10 years. I kind of fell out of this practice and just like, sketching whoever I see. But right now I'm in the library, so I can't really leave the space too much because my stuff is here. But and I was like, how do I just capture? Because people are randomly coming in and out all the time. So that's kind of already something that's now controllable. And then there was a dude who was sitting across me, and then he keep on looking at me, and then he was talking to his friend in another language, and I think they're friends, and I'm just thinking like we're in a public space, but um it's like we we have so many people around us, but we don't know them, we don't recognize them, we don't care or see them. They're just in the background, but we're actually in a space all together. And then it's kind of like a little collage with everyone who's in this space that my eyes can see. So I'm like, let me just use this time and then just like record all the people who are next to me and put them all together like without like order kind of. Yeah. So and then they don't realize that they're actually in the same space either, but they are. And then actually that's how close we are with each other, but we kind of just like have so much boundaries But yeah, I don't know, just like kind of also picking up my practice from before and just like randomly sketch stuff. Yeah, but I don't have a dice or anything, and I don't want to use AI too much. So I was like, I guess my eyes is naturally just random anyways. So whatever, I just lay my eyes on, then I just do it.
Yeah, I think we also, I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you guys too, because yeah, this was great. It was so fun to be like the process, at least with my piece, was like so fun. Like it was really fun making my piece, let alone the fact that I don't know, with Mia's piece, there was like on one of the things, there was like guitar notes written and I was relating to that. On the there was like so many different layers to this. Even Sonia, I also stumbled upon two cameras from my parents' wardrobe that I've been like trying to experiment with. There's just a lot of layers to like relatability. Whether even it's the newspaper thing, I was literally thinking the whole time, oh, it would be so cool if there was some like edit going on in this in the lenses of the glasses. Or like it was just like engaging as hell. And for that, thank you. I think I can speak for everybody when I say that. So yeah.
Thank you, Aman.
This was so fun. And I think it was really fun to think about collaboration with just like chance and the world and like materials. And it was also fun to see how folks collaborated with like your little video. So yeah, this was just really fun. And
Yeah.
that making art can be so much fun. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that that sentiment that you just brought up of yeah, collaborating with just about anything, like the wind, like the way that you breathe, you know what I mean? Anything can be like something that you can view as a collaborator. It makes, I think it can also like help us feel a little less alone in this world. Just kind of looking at anything as like, not even like in a, as a sign, like in this delusional way, but maybe a little bit. That's always healthy. But like almost looking at it as a sign, as like, okay, this is a reason for me to like keep creating, keep sharing, like anything that I put out there. You know, I really like that being like the almost like the final thing that we can take away from all of this. Okay. Cool. Thank you guys. We'll be doing more of these obviously in the future. You can like keep in touch. We're on Instagram and everything as well. I'm sure you guys know. But yeah, much love to all of you.